our last speaker of this session. So let me welcome here again Ulla Luthasela. She's from Nestlé. So I guess she may touch inflationary pressures as well, maybe during our Q&A session, because of course inflation hit also the food sector. But now the floor is yours, Ulla, and we are looking forward to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very exciting to be here. Really interesting speeches before me, which were also, I think, very much echoing what I will be presenting you today. So thanks for the invitation. I'm a Nordic sustainability manager at Nestlé, and I'm based in Finland, but I do have a Nordic role. So today my presentation is very much focusing on what we do in the Nordics and how that is reflected to the global commitments that we have made. So please don't take my presentation as this is everything what Nestlé is doing. I think we have only 15 minutes left, so I'm trying to sort of give you an overview of how we are actually localizing the global commitments and what give you some examples of what we are doing and how that relates to our commitments. So let me share my screen and then we can get started. And I don't mind if anybody wants to ask a question along the way or if you want me to be more specific in any of the aspects. But basically, my screen should be now visible to you.
Yeah. It is visible. Oh, yeah, it is visible.
Okay, can you see one or two slides?
We see one slide, the first one.
Yeah, okay. I'm having a double screen myself, but good if you can now see it and it's on
now
the
we see the first and next slide now. So that's
okay. Then I will reshare it because I just turned off one of my screens. So better now?
Yeah, we see the first slide now.
Okay, very good. So today I will try to give you some the explanation of our commitments and our climate roadmap, and then I will also give you Nordic examples, and then I will have questions and answers if we still have time. Just quickly to mention the size of the Nestlé, and I just want to bring this up because of the scale, so you can understand that if we start doing changes, we truly believe that it's then impacting things globally, how we run the food industry. So we can be the ones who are guiding others and inspiring others, but certainly if we start changing things, we believe that it has a great impact. So it comes with both an opportunity to change the world, but also with a responsibility. So we've been operating 150 years and we have many brands, over 2,000 brands, which are many of them actually very local brands. We have almost 300,000 people working for us, and we are actually selling our products almost everywhere in the world. We have almost 400 factories. They are located in 80 countries, and I'm really happy that we actually have 4 factories here in the Nordics. A baby food factory and a culinary factory in Finland, a coffee factory in Sweden, and a culinary factory in Denmark. The net sales in 2020 were around 77 billion euros. And sustainability is, of course, embedded in everything what we do. It's not a one-man show or one-function show, but it's really incorporated everything in what we do. We have really made big, bold commitments on concerning climate, and we have now the United Nations Science Based Target Initiative commitments to become net zero by 2050. And we have a very detailed roadmap. You can actually see a link here in the below where you can read the full story. So what are we aiming to do and where? But basically already in the next 4 years, we should reduce 20% of our emissions based on compared to the 2018, which is our baseline, and then halving our reductions by 2030. So quite a lot of work ongoing at the moment, really to do the transformation and really looking at our operations. What can we do and how can we operate to reduce our climate impact? And the obvious reason why we actually do this and why it's such a strong part of our strategy today is that food industry will be actually one of the first industries to be hit with the climate change. we really want to be in operations for next 150 years, but the harvesting and farming the ingredients which are really, really crucial for us, that is becoming more difficult. So that's why we believe that we should be really strongly playing a role in preventing the climate change and ensuring that we have good quality raw materials also in the future and for our next generations. And in 2020, we started by looking at the LCA and looking at where the emissions are coming from and how large are our emissions. And actually, our emissions are 92 million tons or were in 2018, which is quite a huge number because it's equivalent of approximately twice of Switzerland or maybe twice of Denmark. And you can see that it's mainly coming from scope 3. The ingredients are really playing a crucial and big role. 65% or even a bit more out of our total footprint is coming from ingredients. And I could see the same trend in some of your earlier presentations where actually the raw materials, whether they are food ingredients or some other ingredients to produce something, that's where actually the emissions are very often coming from. The manufacturing itself and our scope 1 and 2 is very small. It's only around 7%. Packaging, then logistics, they also play a crucial role, but certainly we need to focus on the supply of the ingredients. Here you can see the full value chain. So we really start working with the farmers. We have millions of farmers actually on board, lots of suppliers to deliver the ingredients for us. And we really start our work from this level. Then we are looking at our own manufacturing, of course. We are looking at the packaging, the logistics, the retail. If we have carbon neutral brands, then we will also include the consumer part. And then, of course, the end of life of our packaging and what will happen to the packaging after they have done their job. This is a very busy slide, so I'm not expecting you to read it, but it's just a demonstration of sort of the pillars we have and how we are in the glide path towards reducing our emissions. And the next slide is more sort of a detailed slide where I'm sort of trying to group in the next 5 years or 4 years actually remaining what milestones we have and what commitments we have made publicly. So basically, it is really important to increase the carbon sinks. It's all about the carbon balance in the world and how long-term you can bind carbon. And one area where, of course, we all know that the forest is really good at storing carbon. So we have promised to be free from deforestation already by this year. So a really great milestone. We are very close to 100%, but we are now working with the last stretch. And at the same time, when we are sort of maintaining the forests in the world, then at the same time, we are also planting annually 20 million trees. And this is happening within our own value chain. It's not offsetting. We actually have these trees planted in our farms, for example, in the coffee farms where they can be as a shading trees, making a nice microclimate on the farm and so on. So this is happening within our own operations. And then one really big pillar for us, and I will also have an example of this one, is the transition into regenerative agriculture. There's a lot of potential on the soils to bind carbon, but today with the monocropping, it is actually the soils are more carbon sources than carbon sinks. And this is what we really want to change. We promised to have 20% of our main ingredients through regenerative agriculture and already 50 by 2030. So quite a lot of work around the farmers at the moment happening. Then we believe in the certifications. We will certify 100% of our palm oil, coffee and cocoa, and we will be also reaching this target by 2023 in all areas, some of them already this year. Then when we are looking at our own operations as scope 1 and 2, we are switching our electricity to be renewable. And actually, I'm very proud that in the Nordics, we have already done it. So all our offices and all our factories are running with renewable electricity. We also look at the logistics, where our global car fleet will move into the lower emissions options. We also have a great example from the Nordics in this one, that we have one electric truck which is transporting all our local coffee from factory to warehouse, and then also we are moving into the biodiesel options. Then, of course, packaging plays a crucial role. There we have a separate commitment on top of our climate commitments, that we would have 100% recyclable or reusable packaging by 2025. And at the same time, we are reducing the virgin plastic by 1/3. And all of these initiatives, even though I'm now talking about the CO2 emission reductions, but they also have many other benefits, like the biodiversity, protecting the water bodies, and so on. So all of these are bringing more added value to our supply chain. Here are the 8 pillars where we are sort of putting our mapping based on our mapping and our activities, or sourcing our ingredients is a really crucial part, but then also changing our portfolio. For example, we will have more plant-based products available all the time. This segment is really growing, but also looking at how can we balance out the emissions within recipe changes. We are evolving our packaging. In Nordics, we are already having 92% recyclable packaging, which is really great, and we will have the final stretch in the next couple of years. Renewable energy, I already mentioned. I also mentioned the logistics. We also look how can we remove the carbon from the atmosphere, and then we will start having some carbon neutral brands which are front runners within the group. And then, of course, we try to advocate so that the policies and the governments and the legislative framework would actually support not just us, but everybody on the journey, and then that everybody would join this work. Nestle can't change the world alone, but it's nice to see these big, great international companies here today who are also walking the same journey as we do. Then a couple of examples. Sourcing ingredients, as I say, the regenerative agriculture is really huge for us at the moment. And I'm really happy that we actually can demonstrate this also at the Nordic level, that we do have a hands-on local project ongoing in Finland, where we have engaged with an NGO called Baltic Sea Action Group, BSAG. And they have a great carbon action platform where they are bringing in scientists, farmers, policymakers, and industry stakeholders, where we have now enrolled our farmers. We have identified some key farmers for our baby food production and our culinary production in Finland. So onions, potatoes, carrots are in the focus, and we have started to train our farmers in practice how they can do the transformation from regular farming into the regenerative agriculture. And this is a really great project. We are supporting the farmers not just with theoretical knowledge. We are really helping them hands-on on the farms as well. We have a full training program there for them with agronomists who can also support them at the farm level to do the transition. And the goal, of course, is to obtain the regenerative ingredients from our farmers to support us in our carbon neutral journey. So great local example on how we walk the talk. Then one really big area is the packaging. And there we have sort of a threefold promise. One is to make our packaging 100% recyclable. And when we talk about the food, it's not so simple and not so easy just to change the packaging for something else. We really need to take into account the food safety, also the shelf life. We don't want to increase any food waste, because that is even worse for the environment. So doing this change has already started several years ago. Here I have put some examples how we have moved in the plastic, we have moved into the monomaterials, but we have also changed colors from black to white. We have moved from plastic to tin. We have moved from plastic to fiber. So a lot of changes ongoing still, but we are already quite far on the journey. But at the same time, even if we put recyclable packaging on the market, then of course it only makes sense if the local infrastructure can actually support it and can recycle it in practice. So all of our packaging, we know that they can be recycled, and in the world there's enough capacity to actually recycle these materials. But what we are working on, and that's the second pillar of our commitment, is really to support and look at the local infrastructure and see where the bottlenecks are and how they can manage our packaging, and is it truly recyclable. So for example, in Sweden, we have donated some money for a local player called TMR, who has established the company Omnipolymers, who is the very first plastic recycler who can actually recycle flexible plastics, which is today, I would say 95% of it is incinerated. So really crucial work at the local level also to ensure the infra is working optimally. But we are not there yet. We still have a lot of work to do, and we hope to collaborate with other stakeholders on the market, as I said also earlier. So recycled content in the PET bottles is also European-wide and global-wide a big commitment to have 50% content. But in the Nordics, we are not in the water business, so it doesn't really play a crucial role for us in the Nordics, but globally, yes, certainly does. Then changing into the renewable energy, I was really happy to see the steel presentation, because that is, of course, also contributing to us. But we have now moved into the wind power or water power in our all offices and factories Nordically. Also, this one I mentioned, decarbonizing our logistics, so looking at the different options for our employee cars in our transportation, the biodiesel, electric trucks, and so on. So lots of changes happening at the moment, but certainly by 2025, we want to reach the milestone of being fossil-free in the Nordics. So we are on the journey. I think we all are on the journey, and then let's work together. I think the collaboration is key, but we really all have the same goal on protecting the environment and our precious world to the future generations. That's it. I think I speeded up quite well, because we're exactly on 20 past now. So I'm open for questions if any time remaining.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ulla, for your presentation. I would like to ask you, how do you see the development of food prices, because I think it's one of the key issues right now that is interesting and interesting for people around the world, because according to UN, the global prices of food are the record levels right now, and maybe because of the situation in Ukraine, especially with the wheat export and wheat production, may even get worse. So what do you expect from food prices this year, maybe next year, because the current situation may influence, of course, the production of wheat and other agricultural products even next year. So what's your insight?
Absolutely, a really good question. And first of all, as said before, I also sincerely feel sorry for the situation where we are today, and for the Ukrainian people and also for Russian people. So lots of struggle, and of course none of us wanted to have this right after the COVID. So first we've been struggling with the COVID, and now we are struggling with the war. And you are absolutely right. We have seen drastic increases in many parts of the supply chain and the value chain. So of course, if we start paying more for the logistics cost and the gas and the electricity, and now even the raw materials, then of course that will impact the prices as well. And at the same time, I must say that we have also seen some hits by the climate change also already impacting us. For example, the coffee prices really went up last year because of some really extreme weather conditions in Brazil, and the Brazilian coffee prices really shoot up. So there are many things which are impacting the end price of our commodities, and not just for Nestle, but for everybody. And this is a very delicate topic, because it's also a basic human right to have food. And that's the only way to survive, to have enough food for everybody, which should still be a reasonable price that people can afford it, and to prevent that people are not changing to the diets which are not as healthy or not as good for you. So certainly something that we need to very carefully consider before raising the prices. But as all the industry, we all can see that everywhere the prices, and not just food, is increasing, and that will of course impact our pricing as well. So really an unfortunate development what we can see at the moment. No easy solutions out, and I fully agree that Ukraine also plays a crucial role, because there's a lot of food production in Ukraine, and also a lot of farmers and a lot of ingredients coming from Ukraine, and none of us knows what does it mean for next harvesting season, for example. Can they start farming the land as normally? How long this war is taking, and what are our sources next year? So really big questions which are still open.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ulla, for your presentation, for your answers. If you have, dear participants, any of you question, please ask now. If you do not have, I will ask one last question to all our participants, to our speakers. And that's maybe it was partially answered already in their presentations, and maybe in my questions after the presentation of what we have been through the really historical events in last 2 years, pandemic and now war. In general, how do you see it from the point of view of your plans before these two events? How were your plans before pandemic hit and before the war began? So it means at the beginning of 2020. And what are your plans now? Do these two events change your plans concerning sustainability and your efforts to make your business more sustainable in some way or not? Or do you plan to be quicker with your plans to be more sustainable now after the events, or or have been forcing you those events to somehow hinder your way to improvements in your sustainability? So do you see those events as events that push green technologies, for example, sustainability forward, or as events that are somehow dampening or hindering the process that already was present before the pandemic hit? So maybe we can start from the end. So Ulla, what's your take?
Yeah, it's $1 million question, but my key message is maybe that we will stick with the roadmap and the plans that we have built. Maybe we have to look at how we can shift the weight from different activities happening. But this is a long-term thing. We are aiming to be net zero by 2050, and we can't just change it up and down and reduce and scale it up. We have put a lot of effort last year to build different projects, and now it's a moment where we need to start scaling up, and we need to start taking the learnings. So there is no way that we can just stop. And actually also we can see that it's even more important to become sustainable. We can't just push it further somewhere in the future. We really need to act now. We really need to do the changes now. And then of course, looking at the financial point of view, we need to be smart that we are doing the right things at the right time and putting the efforts in the right place. So of course, the prices can't go rocket high. So we need to do this quite cost flat. But some of the changes, you actually in the long run also have savings. If you change your packaging to be recyclable, you actually reduce the cost for recycling fees, for example. Or if there will be more CO2 taxes, then less CO2 we are emitting, then of course there will be also a saving. So we need to look at the big picture. And I think these individual events, even they hit us, but we still will follow our roadmap and our journey as planned.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Ulla. Martin, what's your take on this? So are you now, are your efforts to be more sustainable are even more intensive than 2 years ago, or it's still the same, or are you somehow slowing down your efforts?
I must say that we are going on. We go ahead with the projects with the teams in Antwerp, and the people are dedicated to focus on that. And of course, you have to change. You have to change your mind, and you have to change your plan. According to the situation. So you always have to find the right. Let's say effort without wasting your focus to really be efficient. Even when you do, you switch your operation or your services to a more sustainable, you need to still have an open eyes what you can influence now and what you can influence in 3-5 years. So it's a short term. Some actions are short term. Some actions are coming according to the situation, what happens in the world, and some things are long term, which you just keep on going. So it's just my opinion.
Thank you very much, Johan. Your take. So thank you all of you, because Barbara from IKEA, she already left because of the tight schedule. So thank you all of you. We have run out of our time for this session. So thank you for your time to be here with us. And next time, I hope, as I said at the beginning, that we will meet in much less tense circumstances than today. So have a nice day, and I'm looking forward to meet you again next time. Thank you for organizing this event, to Lea Tučarová, Executive Director of Nordic Chamber of Commerce in the Czech Republic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a nice
Bye bye.